We're in the midst of another holiday season, so this month's video will have more than a dash of cheer featuring Detective Montoya in her elf disguise from the TNBA episode Holiday Nights. She'll be paired with her chief boss, Commissioner Gordon, from that same episode. Let's clock how I made Jim first. My recipe for Gordon started out as a big question mark until I stumbled upon the wonderful little company NJ Croce and their pack of TNBA figures. They specialize in making classic 90s-esque bendy figs, and their Gordon obviously stood right out to me. I wondered if the scale could work, so the only way to really find out was to buy a loose one on eBay. He arrived, and as suspected, was going to be a little bit short. However, I thought his torso and head could be pretty great. He would just need some taller legs to work. Looking at his model sheet, I immediately thought of using BTAS Riddler legs for him. Now, those giant hands have got to go next. I originally made this guy back around the time DC Collectibles released their BTAS Ra's al Ghul figure, so he was at the top of my mind. Luckily, he came with extra swappable forearms, and I thought those would work really well for Jim. There won't be much for the next category, but let's look at his modifications. All you really need to do here is cut the bendy fig at the waist and cut off and swap his forearms. Then heat and pop your BTAS Riddler apart, and that's it. Glue his waist together, prime the legs, and we're ready to hit him with some paint. The only paint you'll need for him is a different gray for his pants, brown for his shoes, and then some light cleanup around his eyes while repainting his skin to be less orange overall. Oh, and I think I painted his eyebrows and mustache white to look a little closer to his character model too. Since that was so quick, I'll show you how I recreated this iconic scene by simply wrapping some paper around Batman's bicep, drawing on some lines, picking up some mugs off of eBay, and then mocking up a little table for this shot here. What a heartwarming display. We're going in reverse episode order here, but let's head back to Montoya's elf appearance in this episode. Renee's recipe was very simple. I'm using a cast of the BTAS Montoya hatless head and then a TNBA Ivy for a base since she has a vaguely elf-like costume already. A BTAS Ivy could work too, but this one was easier to come by. That's probably the shortest recipe segment you'll ever see here. On to her modifications now. The first thing to Dremel on Ivy will be to take off the lines on her chest from the costume and then nearly remove the bicep cuffs that represent the ends of her gloves. Lastly, the tops of her boots, and then we scrape and sand before starting sculpting. Her epoxy additions are few, but you'll want to clean up what we just dremeled off and cover those biceps and shins and smooth them out. After those are smoothed out, add some epoxy back around her biceps and smooth it up toward her shoulder. Now take an X-Acto knife and cut out the zigzag pattern of the bottom of her sleeves on both arms. The next things I added were the two large buttons on her shirt before adding on the collar in a similar way to how we just added the sleeves. Instead of smearing it up, you'll just cut it around and then cut out the V-shape from the front. Next, I'll switch to green stuff to maintain a little flexibility in both her skirt and her hair. One pro tip for the green stuff is to cut out the middle portion where the blue and green meet because that part has already cured. If you don't remove it, you'll be mixing in hard crumbs and you'll have a lumpy looking batch. Shout out to the incredible Zilu 1984 for that tip. Anyway, mix it up and apply one triangle at a time for the skirt. I'll start with the front and back, let those dry, then move to the sides. In between those, I'll start on her hair. I used epoxy up top to fill in where her hairpiece was, and then switched to more green stuff when I got to the hair that will be touching her shoulders. It took me a few layers to get it just the right shape I was looking for, but you may be able to do it in one lump too. Just smear up the transition and finish it with some water for a smooth finish. Go down to the shoes and add some epoxy around the ankles for the classic pointy-backed elf shoe look. If it's too round, we can sharpen it up with a Dremel later. Come back up to the skirt for two more green stuff triangles on either side to fill gaps, let those cure, and then do the final two. For the rest of the back of the hair, I'll switch back to epoxy and smooth that in. Her face feels a bit off, so I'm going to Dremel the sides down and then flatten down her eyeballs so I can make the eye shapes bigger to match her TNBA look better. Come down to the shoes and sharpen them up, and then you can prime and paint her. I'm going to interrupt before we switch to painting and show you that I ended up changing my mind on the recipe at this point and used legs from a TNBA Harley Quinn since the shoes matched, and I thought they'd give her more height. Unfortunately, it only made me rip the green stuff skirt add-ons off and didn't add much height at all. So I thought I'd extend her torso to try and fix the proportions, but then needed to dremel her hips down for the skirt to fit a little more like it was before. If you can just use a full TNBA Harley from the start, you'll be much better off. I resculpted the skirt parts and then also changed the head. Since Montoya loses her hat halfway through her screen time, I thought it would be worth it to make it removable. I sculpted the rest of her normal hair and then turned to green stuff to make her hat slightly flexible and removable. I'm going with an embedded flat magnet in her hair and a round magnet in the base of the hat. I dremeled a trench for the magnet in the hair and then slowly built up the green stuff hat in layers. I put a glob around the magnet, let that dry, then added some more to fit the shape of her head. Once that cured, I made a rough, thin frame shape for the back of the hat, let that dry, and then connected it to another layer of green. Keep filling in little bits at a time to maintain the shape and allow it to be removable. The magnet is key here for that trick. Also, instead of using matching shape magnets, which would risk how they connect, I made the base magnet wider so there wasn't a chance of the hat going on crooked or anything. Okay, I'm happy with the look of most of that, but clean and sharpen it up with a Dremel before diving into painting. Renee only needs a green for the outfit pieces, red lipstick, a skin color, and black for her hair and details. Start with your dull coat and then add the first coat of skin color. Build up thin coats until you're happy with the coverage and then move on to the green color for her skirt. The advantage I have with using a cast white head is that I don't need white for her eyes, but if you're using another color or an original head, add white for the larger shapes of her eyes. Then black for detailing her eyes and eyebrows, and finally red for her lips. Black again for her hair, and then green again for her hat and shoes. And that's it. She's all ready to go alongside Santa Bullock to be undercover at the mall, but I haven't made him yet. I'll save him for another holiday feature, but just so you're not wondering, I'm going to wait until Holiday Nights turns 30, so next year will be a different DCAU Christmas feature. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Drop a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more monthly content like this and occasional shorts featuring tips or additional customs. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see more customs like these and all of my latest work. After you scroll through my Instagram, come back and leave any requests for characters you see that I haven't made a how-to video of yet. I want to give another heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you who watch, like, and comment here. I'm starting to see a small group of loyal followers and the beginning of a fun little community. As we close out another year, you'll see another summary reel on my Instagram showing all of the customs I made this year, and then a bonus video here after the new year showing all of my latest customs incorporated into my ever-changing display in an updated collection tour. I think I'll put up last year's Instagram summary reel on here too in case you missed it. Thanks again, have a good one, and happy customizing!